So, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be recording a new video based on the differences between Australian and German schools. I actually got the idea for this video from another exchange YouTuber in Germany, Montana Showwater. I watched a few of her videos before I came here and I really liked the idea of this video, and she did one with American and German schools, which is obviously a little bit different to Australian and German, so I'm going to be doing one of those today. So welcome back and let's get into it. So these are my top 8 differences between German and Australian schools. Number 1 would be laptops versus notebooks. I've noticed in German school, no one brings laptops to school, you know. Everyone takes notes manually, or worksheets are still handed out, there's very little online learning. Whereas in Australia, everyone has their own laptop or iPad or tablet of some sorts, you know, to do all their schoolwork on. And by the time you get to year 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you know, 90% of your work in class and stuff is done by typing. And yeah, so that's probably something that quite surprised me due to the, I guess, the stereotypes of Germany being such a, you know, efficient and technologically advanced country. I was surprised when I came here and found all of the schoolwork is actually done manually, as it has been for years, you know. So yeah, that's the first main difference that kind of surprised me. Now, the second difference is the amount of classes, the amount of subjects each student takes. In Germany, each student takes between 10 and 13 classes in all of the years of school, which is insane to me because in Australia you're only taking 4 to 6 classes at a maximum by the time you get to your final 2 years of school. Maybe a few more in the young years, maybe 7 to 9 kind of area, but in the final 2 years of school it's only 4 to 6, and that's the maximum you can take. So it was really surprising to come here and see students, you know, taking, you know, 10 to 12 different classes and doing homework for all of them, doing tests for all of them, this kind of thing. Because to me, that's just like, how are you focusing on so many different like areas of study at once? So yeah, that was a really surprising difference for me. I think the fact that they have to do all these classes and focus so intently on each class and the content being taught, it seems like there's a lot of work there that maybe it doesn't exist in Australia. But then you could also argue perhaps because there are less classes in Australia, there's more focus on each specific class and more work given. And yeah, in terms of which one I like better, I don't know. It's a toss-up. I think I do like about the Australian system that you can more specifically choose the classes relevant to your tertiary, like future studies in university or future professions. I think I like that you don't have to do quite so many classes if they're not going to be relevant to what you want to do going forward. But yeah, I think they both have their advantages and disadvantages. You know, like the German education system will give students a really wide, you know, a really broad level of understanding about many different topics in society, which is really cool because everyone does, you know, English, maths, history, geography, yeah, like music, art. There's so many different subjects to choose from that most students will have a very good base level of understanding of many different subjects and topics in the world, which I think is a good thing. The third difference I would say is the amount of classes each day. So in Australian school, the days are all the same in that you start school at, you know, 8:20, 8 o'clock, whatever, and you finish it around 3. It's the same every day. There's no early days or long days or short days. The only time there's a short day is if there's like staff meetings or something like that, but they're once in a blue moon. So for the vast majority of time, it's just the same length day every day. The classes themselves change, like you don't have the same classes in the same order every day, but you do have the same amount of classes every day. Whereas in German school, it's kind of chaotic the way the timetabling works. Like some days, you know, you won't start school till 10:50. Like the first classes take place at about, I think, 7:40 at my school, whereas but then you might start at 9:10 or 10:50, or, you know, and then you could finish early as well. You could finish at 10:50, or you could finish at, you know, 12:45, or. And then some days, if you do sport, you don't finish till about 5. So it's really quite different in the days are all different lengths. So some days you have 5 subjects and be at school from 7 till 5, and then other days you'll have 2 subjects and be at school from 10 till 1. You know, it really varies how long you spend at school each day depending on what your classes are, which is really interesting. I don't know if it's good or bad. It's good when you have short days and you don't have so much school, but then when you have long days, it feels really long. On a side note, it's not really an official one, but also the length of each class. Here in Germany, at least in the last couple of years of school, all the classes are 90 minutes long, which is very long time for one class. Whereas in Australia, they vary between about 50 and 60 minutes. I think personally, for me, 90 minutes is a bit too long, especially with my limited understanding of German, because I'm sitting there not understanding at all what they're speaking about for 90 minutes. So that's a long time to pay attention to something that you don't understand. It's quite easy. I think I don't know about other people, but for me, I would think that most students maybe have a slightly shorter attention span than 90 minutes, especially younger students as well, in their young years. So yeah, it seems like quite a long class to me. So the fourth major difference that I've noticed is the general technological differences between the schools. In Australia, it's quite high tech. Every room has a smart whiteboard where you can project things and write and use markers. They have overhead projectors, or sometimes even the whiteboards themselves have a projector on top of them. So it's all, and you just plug your computer in and go. So it's very easy. It's very advanced. There's a lot of technology incorporated into everyday learning in Australian schools. Whereas in Germany, I was really surprised to see how old-fashioned, I guess it is. Like, there was a lot of chalkboards still exist now. All of these things, by the way, are for my school only. I can't comment on the schools in all of Germany, but for my German school, this is how it. So just a disclaimer there. Please don't attack me in the comments if your school's different to mine. This is just my experience so far in Germany. But yeah, there's still a lot of chalkboards, which I haven't seen since primary school in Australia. There's old light projectors, which are where they place a piece of paper onto the projector and then light beneath it projects onto the board, which I've never seen except in a movie. So there's definitely some old technology, being used in classes, which I haven't seen. Not to mention, of course, the handwriting all of your notes and printing out all of the worksheets and those kind of things. So it's definitely very different in terms of the technological advancement used in school, which surprised me a lot again, because obviously there's the international stereotype, and my expectation coming here was that Germany is some advanced, efficient, super on top of the technology, kind of country. So it's quite surprising to see how their school hasn't actually embraced this yet. My fifth major difference between schools was the smoking. This is something that doesn't exist at all in Australia. Even just in general society, smoking is heavily frowned upon. A pack of cigarettes is $40 to $50 for one pack of, I don't smoke, so I don't know how many's in a pack. 20 maybe, I'm not sure. But it's so heavily taxed and so widely advertised as being bad that it's not common in society anymore. So to come to Europe, where smoking is so broadly undertaken and so socially acceptable, is really quite surprising. It's completely acceptable for students just to walk outside the school grounds and smoke in breaks, and in Australia, if you did that, you would get in massive trouble. The teachers would come. You can't leave school grounds anyway, and parents would get cold. It'd be a big deal. Whereas here, it's just normal, which is really surprising for me. I don't think it's a good thing. I think smoking is really terrible for your health and your long-term, the health of your lungs, and there's so many negative things with smoking. I mean, this isn't a smoking, public service announcement or anything, but I was just really surprised when I came to Europe, where it is so socially acceptable, especially considering, 15, 16-year-olds smoking outside of school. That was a bit of a surprising one for me that I didn't fully expect before I came here. The sixth difference is no uniform versus uniform. So in Australia, 90% of schools have a uniform. Everyone looks the same, everyone has the same pants, same shirt. If it's girls, they have the same skirt, same, it's all the same. Everyone looks the same. The only really place you can express yourself, I guess, is in your hair or makeup or jewelry, that kind of thing, So it's very, everyone's just, there's very little individuality when it comes to how you look at school in Australia. Especially with some rules dictating, your physical appearance other than uniform as well, like hair length and shoe choice, these kind of things. So it's very strict as to how students can look in Australian schools, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. There's benefits to both. If there's no uniform, then people can't be made fun of for what they're wearing, that kind of thing. But at the same time, there's a definite lack of individuality in schools, and a lot of students can't really express themselves the way they would like. So I don't think that's a great thing. Whereas in Germany, there is no uniform. Students can dress how they want. They can wear whatever clothes they want. They can have whatever hair they want. They can have whatever shoes they want. It's very. I mean, obviously, there's some restrictions. They don't want very short crop tops or muscle shirts in guys or these kind of things. But in general, it's very relaxed, the rules, and you can basically come in normal clothes, which I don't know. I think it's a good thing. I think it's cool. It gives you a lot more freedom to express yourself the way you want to, which I think is a good thing. And now, the seventh change is free periods. So, in Australia, if your teacher is sick or away or on holiday, you get a substitute teacher, which is just often they're just retired teachers who basically freelance with schools and offer their services if they need a sub. Now, the substitute teachers don't have to be in the same field. You could be an old sports teacher who's now teaching Year 12 chemistry as a substitute. And so they don't do much of the teaching themselves. Generally what happens is the teacher will send them an email with the work the class has to do, certain textbook pages they have to read, etc. The subject teacher will write that on the board and the students will do their work. And it's as simple as that. There's nothing fancy about it. But yeah, basically, if your teacher's away, you get a substitute, you do the work, your teacher's back tomorrow or the next week or whenever they're back. So it's not common to miss a class. You're always at school. You don't just get to go home if your teacher's ill. Whereas in Germany, if your teacher's away or sick or on holiday or missing, the class is just cancelled. Especially, this is only in the upper years. I think year 10 and above that this exists. In the lower years, they do have a substitute, but in the year 10 to 12, it's just the class is cancelled. You can do whatever you want. You can go home, you can study, you can go out with friends, whatever. And that's one of the things that surprised me as well. In Germany, if you want to leave school grounds during school, you can. No one stops you. It's not wrong. It's not against the rules. You can do whatever you want. You can go to town, you can go to the city. Whereas in Australia, if you leave school grounds, you're in big trouble. You get detention if you get caught, So that was something that kind of I didn't expect, that you could just leave, whenever you want. And so yeah, if a school teacher's away, everyone's like, yes, because rather than getting a substitute, which is kind of bad, you don't get the advantage of having your teacher teaching you, so you just have to do the work without the instruction. You just get to miss the class, which from a student perspective, it's great. It's good fun. But then, of course, I don't know whether you get the same amount of education or if you have to get more homework the next class, which isn't so good. It's not as good, but yeah, it's just a difference. It's not good nor bad, it's just a difference I noticed between the two education systems. Now, the final 8th difference is class engagement. So in Germany, a part of your grade is class engagement, so raising your hand to ask and answer questions. So that's actually, you're graded on that. It forms part of your overall grade, which I think is great because everyone wants to answer questions. Like, every time the teacher asks a question, every hand in the class goes up trying to answer the question. Everyone wants to ask questions to clarify their work because that's a part of their grade, it's what they're being marked on. And the engagement in Germany in classes is through the roof. Whereas in Australia, because it doesn't form any part of your grade, there's maybe 3 or 4 people in a class who will answer all the questions or ask all the questions, and everyone else is just quiet. Whether or not they're quiet and studying, or they're talking to their mates, or whatever, not listening to the teacher. It's weird because there's only 3 or 4 people who are really engaged in the class and really asking questions and answering questions and talking to the teacher. Whereas in Germany, everyone, or at least 95% of people, are engaged because it forms a big part of their mark, which I think is a really good thing, because I've never seen classes where the students are so actively interested and questioning of the content, which I think is really good because it definitely promotes a higher level of understanding. It's proven scientifically that when you're speaking through topics and asking questions and seeking clarification from the teacher rather than just reading off the board or reading from a textbook, the understanding of a topic goes way up. So I think that's a really good thing about the German education system, that you do get marked on engagement. I think that was a really clever move, and I think it definitely increases the understanding and knowledge of the students. So yeah, that's my 8 reasons. That's my 8 differences between school in Australia and Germany. Thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting. If you want to ask about any of those differences, then feel free to leave a comment or DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to talk to any of you guys. And yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.